REM, and this is Bookish This or That, which I'm stealing from the Danish Readerholic, this tag, and basically you have two options and you have to choose which one of them you prefer. So the first This or That, excuse me, is hardback or paperback. This is incredibly easy for me to choose. I have very weak hands, so I like paperback. Next up is new book smell or old book smell. Again, it's something that's very easy for me to answer. I way prefer new book smell. Old book smell just makes me cough. It's a lot of dust, honestly. Let's all be honest. Old book smell is a lot of dust. Not into it. Standalone or series. While I do love a good standalone, I really like being in a series, being in the world. I just love, my favorite series are honestly the kind where they just happen in like a world and you may meet the same characters or you may not, but like I just love the expansion of the world. I love world building. I'm really a character person, but I also love world building. E-reader or physical book. I love e-reading, and more than that, which everyone is very surprised about, I love reading on my phone. I can't explain it, but I can. It's very comfortable. My phone is basically always with me except on Shabbos, and it's relatively small. Unfortunately, phones have gotten bigger, but they're relatively small still. I don't have to lug around. Also, I don't have to lug around something else extra. I already stuffed my backpack so full, so yeah. Annotating or keeping books pristine? Well, actually, neither. I don't really like annotating, but I don't feel like the need to keep books pristine. The reason I don't like annotating is because I get so easily distracted that when I see an annotation, whether it's from me or someone else, even if it's just like a line or an arrow, I will get so distracted I will not be in the book anymore, and it's incredibly frustrating for me. So even though I would love to actually annotate, I cannot actually. The results are frustrating to me. Not to mention, I do read mostly library books, though obviously in a Kindle you can annotate a library book, I'm also a lot reading on the bus and places where like you don't really want to pause and sit. So the results of annotating is incredibly frustrating to me, and I'm not really reading in times when I can annotate. So yeah. Keeping books pristine, even though I do not really care about the pristineness, it's just about more against the annotating. Bookstore or library, as I said, like 99% of the books I read are from the library. Libraries all the way, and I wish that more people had more access to more libraries and bigger libraries. I love libraries. Buying books or borrowing books, I'm not quite sure why we have this right after bookstore or library. It's obviously going to be the same answer, which is borrowing books. Read in silence or read with background noise? Read in silence, so that's actually mostly doesn't happen, but like it also kind of does. Like when I'm listening to an audiobook, it's obviously only the audiobook, right? And maybe like the music they have in the background. And when I'm reading at home, which on Shabbos I read quite a lot, that's mostly in silence. It's only when I'm reading at the bus stop that it's not in silence, and I don't really mind because like I can tune out people talking and stuff. But like if like I put on music or something, that will very much like be distracting to me. Like if it's like a mingle of sounds, it's not distracting to me. But if it's like one sound, it is distracting to me. Morning reading or night reading? This is not really how I read. I read all along the day, mostly as I said, during the weekdays. It's mostly when I'm waiting for public transport or I'm on the bus, listening to an audiobook. But I am like a morning person, so I'm more likely to get tired at night. But yeah, that's not really how I read. Reading at home or reading outside. This is very funny because, as I said, what actually specifically happens is I'm mostly reading outside my house on public transport, waiting for public transport, but I do prefer reading at home. Well, it is a dream of mine to like love reading outside, and there have been times when I've like gone to a park or a nice path and I've sat there and read and really enjoyed it. Most of the time I will be like, suddenly I'll get very anxious, but like very shy. So yeah, but it is a dream of mine to enjoy doing it more. But also it's like, weather is so annoying. I get cold so easily. Like I'll be sitting outside and I'll be in so nice, and then a light breeze will come along and I'll be like, oh no, I'm so cold. Reading one book at a time or multiple books at a time? Definitely multiple books at a time. I have always been a multiple books at a time reader. Right now, I generally have a physical book, an ebook, and an audiobook, but even before I had access to all these different formats, and even before I was like even into audiobooks, I was definitely a multiple books at a time reader. Long chapters or short chapters? I don't know. I feel like I would have used to say short chapters, but I feel like my tastes are changing. I prefer long chapters. It really depends on the book, you know? Some books, it fits to have short chapters, and some books, it fits to have long chapters. Um, yeah, and like, I'm not even talking about like some books, like, I will get like frustrated because they have short chapters, and other books I get frustrated because they have long chapters, and and vice versa. I don't know. It really, really depends on the book for me. It depends on my mood. I think it's also, as I said, it's changing right now. I'm moving from a person who prefers short chapters to a person who prefers long chapters. So I don't really know how to answer this one. First person POV or third person POV. I used to really hate first person POV. I am more likely to enjoy it now. Like I don't really mind it, but I think I do prefer third person POV. It feels less jarring to me when there's a POV change most of the time. And I really also like, I enjoy omniscient third person POV a lot, but I also enjoy close third person POV, but I feel like, yeah, but that already feels like first person POV to me. Like I really enjoy omniscient third person POV, like the Anne of Green Gables style. Multiple POV or single POV? Single POV. As I said, it's kind of jarring for me when POVs change, and which is why I already prefer third person because it's less jarring, so I do prefer single POV. But I like multiple POVs in omniscient third person. However, omniscient third person is becoming less and less popular. It's either first person or close third person, and in those cases, especially in close third person, I do prefer single POV, but also in first person, I just prefer everything to just be fantasy or contemporary. Well, this is not a good question. It should be fantasy or realistic fiction. Contemporary is just a book that is written contemporarily. Is that how you pronounce the word? Anyways, there's plenty of fantasy that is contemporary. However, I do prefer fantasy over realistic fiction. While I do love me some realistic fiction, especially middle grade and children's realistic fiction, you can see how, if you've been following the channel, you see how much fantasy I read. Oh my god, I hope I've been filming this whole time. Oh my god. Enemies to lovers or friends to lovers? Enemies to lovers. Yeah. Friends to lovers is much less likely to have the development time that enemies to lovers has, and I already don't like romance, so at least give me development time instead of just pushing them together. Plot driven or character driven? Character driven. I am totally fine with reading a book that has character but no plot, but not the opposite. Character development but no plot development, but not the opposite. Slow burn romance or insta love, as I've already said in the enemies to lover, I prefer slow burn. If you're going to give me romance, make it work for it. Work for it. Don't just say, oh, here, work for it. Okay, romance, you have to work for everything else. Why shouldn't you work for the romance? Well, that sounds so harsh of me, but like, why should I believe that the characters are in love if you do not show me it? And it's like every other relationship. If you do not develop a friendship properly, why should I believe you? And obviously, and like if I read a book where where you do not see the characters' romance develop, but you see how in love they are, I will like that much better where you see the characters' romance develop, but it's insta love. Paperback with Broken Spine or Never Crooked Spine. Broken Spine, it's so much easier to read. Well, there are so many reasons to never break the spine, which, like, it looks better, the book lasts longer, but, like, physically, I will get so frustrated reading a book with a pristine spine. Like, it's annoying to read, which is why I prefer ebooks. Reading slump or DNF. First of all, I do not believe in reading slumps. This is a hobby. You should not have to feel pressured to do it all the time. And secondly, yeah, I love DNFing books. It used to be something that when I was a kid, I really hated DNFing books. I would force myself to go through a book. And at some point, when I was in high school, I realized why I'm forcing myself to read books I'm not enjoying it. And it's a hobby. It's a hobby. I should be enjoying my hobbies. So yeah, DNFing books, and I do not believe in reading slips. Cliffhanger ending or neat resolution. I assume this is asking about books who are in the middle of series because it doesn't make sense in any other context. While I do love at the final book in a series or at the end of a standalone for it to be like kind of like you're not totally sure what happened next, but you have a direction, but that's not the same thing as a cliffhanger ending. Like that is my favorite ending, when you're not totally sure what's going to happen next, but you do have a direction. But that is not the same as a cliffhanger ending. So, and I do not actually like cliffhangers. I feel it feels cheap to make you want to read the next book without really putting in as much effort. It's not always like that, but even when I know it's not like that, it does still feel cheap, so I do prefer resolution, and I want to read the next books because of all the work you put into the characters and the world building and the plot, not because you decided to leave us on a cliffhanger. Cover by or recommendation read? Recommendation read. Crying over a book or laughing out loud at a book? Because see, I'm not a big humor fan, but I don't really cry over books, so I don't know how to answer this. Like on one hand, oh no, out loud, because if it's not an actual humor book, but you're adding like a little humor to it, I do really enjoy that. I really enjoy the aspect of adding a little humor to a book without it being like super, super humorous. Like I did not enjoy A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I found that was like too focused on humor for me, but I like it when books are like plot, but they have like humorous moments. Big books, 500 plus pages, or short books under 300. Short books all the way. I have read and enjoyed big books, but overall I think they're generally too long, and I also read a lot of kids' books, which are, a lot of them are like 70 pages, so definitely short books. The last question is, always carry a book or only read at home? Definitely always carry a book. I take books to places even when I know that I'm not going to have time to read, just as a comfort thing, that I know that if there is a time where I will get bored, I do not have to get bored. I have a book with me. And another reason I love ebooks. But anyways, this is all. You should definitely follow the Danish Readerholic. I really like her channel. And thank you for watching.